Hey guys, my name is Anthony, and in today's video I'm going to be quickly teaching you guys how to get the best start on F1 2020. So if you want to see more tips like this, make sure to hit the like button because it lets me know that you guys like these tutorials. So let's get straight into today's tutorial. So as you guys know, getting a good start is very important no matter where you are on the grid. If you're in first place, getting a good start means that you could defend your lead. If you're in second place, getting a good start means you can overtake for the lead. If you're towards the midfield, then it could potentially mean getting through all of that carnage that's probably going to happen at turn 1. And if you're at the back, then obviously it means you're gaining a good few positions. So there's a few different ways that you can get a good start, and it's really down to your own personal preference really. So let's get straight into the few options you have in order to get a good start on F1 2020. So when it comes to getting a good start on F1 2020, it really comes down to your own personal preference and what suits your style more. If you're the type of person who you tend to put the throttle down quite quickly, then you might want to start on lean, and then as you find more grip from the tires, then you put it up to rich and use overtake. If you're the type of person where you feel as if your throttle control is actually quite good, then you can just straight up put it to rich, and that will give you the quickest start possible obviously. And if you feel as if you're sort of in between that, then you will use standard and then move it up to rich once you've found enough grip. Also, you're going to want to factor in what compound of tire you're using when getting started in the race. If you're starting on the hard compound of tire, especially if you're using no traction control, then obviously that compound is going to have a lot less grip than the soft compound of tire. So you're going to want to be a lot more smoother with the throttle when using the hard compound versus when using the soft compounds. In fact, I probably wouldn't even recommend using rich fuel mix when you're on the hard compound of tire until you find that initial grip. So maybe use standard or potentially even lean, and then when you find that initial grip, then you can move on to rich, and obviously use your overtake on the start as well. If you're using mediums, then you could probably get away with using rich and standard. You don't necessarily need to use lean unless your throttle control isn't that great. But if you're using the softs and your throttle control is pretty good, then you're going to want to be using rich fuel mix. And speaking of your throttle control, how much of the throttle do you actually want to apply when getting started? Well, for me personally, I tend to use the third line in the throttle application bar as my guiding point. That would usually take you up to max revs, which is about 13,000 RPM, I believe. You can obviously use a little bit less by lifting your foot off of the throttle, but it might mean that you'll be a little bit slower off of the line. And then when the lights actually go out and the cars start moving, then you want to slowly apply the throttle until you find that initial grip, and then you can basically slam it down to 100%. It usually takes quite a bit to find all that initial grip before you can slam it down to 100% and use overtake, but that obviously depends on which compound of tire you're using. As I said before, hards will take longer to find the grip than soft tires. And then you have starting in wet conditions, which is a completely different ball game. For me personally, I don't even use rich fuel mix when it comes to starting in wet conditions until I have completely found enough grip on the start. I usually use lean or standard, and for the RPM I usually keep it at around about 9 to 10,000. That's where I've personally found is best when starting in wet conditions. And obviously you want to be a lot more smooth with the throttle when starting in wet conditions, because obviously it's wet, so it's going to be a lot less grippy out there. And in addition to that, you're going to want to short shift up to at least around 5th or 6th gear, because in wet conditions, when coming off of an exit or when starting a race, your car can spin out even as high as 6th gear. So if you found this tutorial on how to get better starts on F1 2020 useful, then make sure to hit the like button and stick around if you're new by subscribing to the channel, because I already have a bunch of different tutorials on the channel already, and I will have more tutorials coming as well. And obviously I've got other content like league races, reaction videos and stuff like that as well. So I hope that you guys learned from this, and I hope that that means you can get better starts on F1 2020, especially in your league races. And I'll see you guys in my next video.